2022 is in our rear view, but it's list season, so you know what that means. Time for our top 10 movies of the year. Let's get to it. Welcome back to B&B Movie Reviews. I'm Brian Young, here with my good friend and fellow movie buff, Brad Gullickson. As film fans, movie lovers, and cinephiles, it's the geekiest time of the year for us to look back at the last 12 months of cinema, talk with our friends about the movies we've seen, try to catch up on the ones we've missed, and compare and contrast our list, debate rankings, but all to open up the conversation about the medium of film that we love so dearly. So with that, I'll kick off my 10 through 5 of 2022. At number 10 is the murder mystery from director Rian Johnson with Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. At number 9 is the satirical thriller that may rethink your love of fine dining with The Menu. At number 8 is Prey, the prequel to a franchise that was thought to be dead in the water. Number 7 is Matt Reeves' take on vengeance himself with The Batman. Ryan Coogler pulls off what most people would have thought would be unmanageable with my number 6 pick, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And James Cameron seems to be unbeatable with Avatar: The Way of Water at my number 5.
And for my 10 through 5 of 2022, at number 10 is Robert Eggers' mythical Viking revenge story, The Northman. Jordan Peele returns with Nope, his ode to Spielberg at my number 9 of the year. At number 8 is the sci-fi family drama After Yang from director Kogonada. My number 7 of the year is Turning Red, the coming-of-age film from Domi Shi and Pixar. Steven Spielberg tells the story of his adolescence with his love letter to film, The Fabelmans. It's my number 6 of the year. And Tom Cruise is back with the high-octane sequel, Top Gun Maverick, that brought filmgoers back in droves to the cinema.
So 2022, man, top 10 of the year.
Very exciting. This is my favorite kind of show to record.
I love it, man.
And 2022, pretty darn good year.
It was a pretty good year. I can say that my top 10 I feel pretty confident about. So with that, let's talk about our number 4s.
Right.
Let's see. Who do you want to start?
I always want you to start.
You want me to start? Okay.
Yeah. Because I know what my 4 is. I don't know your 4.
All right. So my number 4 of the year is Nope from Jordan Peele. I know you had that at your list at number 9. I really liked this movie the second time I watched it. Of course, we had an experience, shout out to our Khan family. We saw this with Miriam and Aisha in San Diego. And
Fatima.
And no, she wasn't there.
She wasn't there?
No, unfortunately.
I was sleeping in that movie.
So was I, because Comic-Con it's a long weekend, and we always try to catch a movie. But when I was able to come back on the East Coast, I went back and saw it again. And watching this movie and seeing what Jordan Peele was able to do with a lot of the themes that he was talking about with spectacle, the relationship between Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer, I thought was great. But the one thing that really kind of captured me about this movie was this whole idea of the erasure of the black hero or the adventure of the black hero. And we see the whole thing with the 2-second clip of the black jockey on the horse. And throughout the film, you're seeing like how that has kind of been erased, co-opted. And it's almost like Jordan Peele is trying to regain that back.
Yeah.
And I found something very fascinating with him telling this particular story, but it being part of that whole idea of, bringing back the black hero in cinema.
And
I thought
there are
that was
so many
great.
surprises in that film, starting with that opening. When we went to see it, that screening at San Diego with our friends, we were like, oh, Jordan Peele, he does scary, but it doesn't do too scary.
Yeah.
And then that movie opens with the monkey, with the primate. And that is a really unsettling story. And it takes a long time for it to weave through the rest of the narrative.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that that ultimately gets folded back into the theme that you're talking about is really powerful.
So yeah, that was great. So what's your number 4?
So my number 4 is Babylon, the
Nice.
3-hour plus Damien Chazelle epic.
Okay.
Not for everybody, we learned this year. It's a very divisive film. We've had many conversations about it as well. Of course, it's about the hedonism of the 20s, specifically in Hollywood during the silent era.
Yeah.
Just as sound is encroaching on them. Singing in the Rain, you know, is a famous movie that obviously Damien Chazelle loves.
Yeah.
And this movie is kind of like his dark, twisted version of Singing in the Rain. I gotta say though, like, it's not just about this era.
It's really not.
It's about where cinema is today and where it is going.
Exactly.
And my ultimate review of Babylon is that it is a film that's preparing us for AI cinema and whatever comes after it. The house is on fire, your art form is changing, you will not survive it, but the people in the future will still be making movies. They just might not be making movies that you recognize as movies.
And I love that. I love how we get to that point in the movie. Like you say, going from silent to the talkies, and then you look at the transition throughout the history of cinema, going from black and white to color and practical effects to visual effects. And now, of course, we see it now on social media with AI technology and the way that movies are going to be seen. You're right. Like the way we look at a movie now, we probably won't even recognize it 100 years from now if we were able to see one. So
and the movie has 2 or 3 absolutely banger moments.
They do.
That any movie fan should be able to connect with, even if they can get past elephants taking dumps on people and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, those are our number 4 films of 2022. When we come back, we will talk about our number 3 pick. They're right there.
Jason, let's go see your room.
How was it? Is it good? That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. No, it's not. But I mean, she'll be okay.
She'll be fine.
Yeah. Welcome back to the B&B Movie Review Show. We are doing our top 10 movies of 2022. So now we will talk about our number 3 picks of the year. So, Brad, we might be in sync on this one.
I hear a rumor that we have the same number 3. Should we say it at the same time?
Our number 3 has 3 letters.
All right. 1, 2, 3. We're going to say it.
R.
1, 2. No, Black Adam. Black Adam was our number 3.
I think that may have been an alternate timeline.
Oh.
Yeah, that was an alternate timeline.
Oh, no.
R.
RR.
There we go.
Yeah.
Rise, Roar, Revolt.
What an amazing picture.
Okay, I got to talk to you about this, Brad. So, Rise, Roar, Revolt, RRR, an Indian film that came out earlier this year. It's on Netflix right now. Dubbed, yeah. And they have subtitles as well.
They updated?
They have the Hindi subtitles on there. I mean, the Hindi version. But I saw this at Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester during Lost Weekend, and it was the best theatrical experience I think I have. Top 5 theatrical experience I think I've had in a theater ever.
I'm super jealous because I did not get to see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
And I've seen clips online of audiences reacting to RRR.
Yeah.
And they are on their feet. They are screaming. They are totally engaged with the movie. And thankfully, I was on the small screen, but I did miss that big screen experience.
So for people who don't know, what is RRR about?
RRR is about everything. It
It
is a film. It's a relationship movie, right?
It
It's a
is.
buddy film.
It is.
Where you have two individuals. One is on the British side,
Yes.
working for the British Raj.
Yes.
And they're the villains. They're the bad guys.
The British,
Yeah.
always the bad guys.
Yeah. And the other is with the people.
Yeah.
Right? And it's about a revolt rising up against the British Raj.
And these two men that are on opposite sides of this war are kind of thrust into this friendship through an event to save this kid, and they form this bond. Knowing that they're on opposite ends, we kind of know how ultimately this may end or where it will lead.
And it's based on real characters, real people,
Yes.
real events,
Now-
Abim and Raju.
Yeah.
But it has that Indian Tollywood heightened fantasy element to it that is unlike anything you will get in Hollywood, right?
It's unlike anything, man. And the thing that I loved about it is that it has everything that you want in a movie that you want to experience going into the cinema. It has action, it has a love story, it has a friendship at the core of it. I mean, it has all these different things that it's just a great experience watching it in a theater with a crowd.
Extremely well directed.
Well directed.
Rajamouli.
Rajamouli.
Thank you. And the cinematography is KK Senthil Kumar, and it's an incredibly looking movie.
Yeah.
There's CGI tigers and CGI flames, and it looks ridiculous, but the emotions are never ridiculous.
There are.
It's super earnest.
It's very earnest and it's very sincere, and everything in it feels earned. And it's a bit of a shame because it seems like a lot of people are kind of rallying around this movie, where we've had Tollywood movies and Bollywood movies and movies from India for years, for decades. But now, and even for myself, it's like I want to start exploring more of this type of cinema. But it's something about it feels like, man, I wish I would have came to this a little earlier.
Yeah, right. It does. It's a gateway movie.
It is a gateway.
A lot of people will check out Bollywood movies and Tollywood films.
Yeah.
I think why this movie is really connecting right now is we're at an interesting place with American Western cinema. And we're craving something that's a little different, a little unique. I think it's why Top Gun Maverick did so well.
Yeah.
This is not a Marvel superhero movie, but it is also a superhero movie.
It very much is.
But love is at the center.
Yeah. It's at the center of this story to make you really connect with some of the kind of outlandish and ridiculous action sequences and the things that they do, but you buy into all of it, and that's what I don't know. I just absolutely just love
and I think
this movie.
That's what was missing for Black Adam.
Yeah, I think we needed more. I think we needed more piggyback, more shoulder shootouts in Black Adam.
There is a scene where they attack the British palace, and he unleashes an army of animals.
Yes.
And it's special.
Before we end this segment, I gotta say, my favorite scene is the dance sequence.
Oh,
Natu, and I was grinning from ear to ear in the theater when I was watching this, and that, in a 3-hour-long film, that comes about an hour into the movie, and it is one of the best sequences in the film. Probably one of the best sequences I've seen all year.
It's the best step-up movie of all time.
Yes, it is. So yeah, I absolutely love this. And then we don't even get the title sequence until 40 minutes into the movie, which I thought was awesome as well.
Yeah,
so.
Him and Damien Chazelle must have gotten together about that, putting their title sequence late in the film.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot Damien Chazelle did that as well. So yeah, RRR is just a fantastic watch. So yeah, that is our number 3 of the year. Check that one out on Netflix. It is well worth the watch. When we come back, we get into our number 2s. Stay right there.
and someone says, you need a bone marrow transplant, those are just not words you want to hear.
I got a call that it was the best match. It was one of the best days of my life. I'm so happy that you're okay.
I just want to say thank you for the second chance at life.
Thousands of patients need a donor like you. Learn how you can help at bethematch.org.
Yeah, so then I'll start with that. Welcome back to B&B Movie Reviews. I'm your host, Brian Young. We are getting into our number 2 films of 2022. So with that, Brad, number 2, let's get right into this. I'm gonna go ahead and start this one off. My number 2 of the year, you had this on your list. It looks like Babylon bumped it out because I was hoping we could talk about it in more depth. We could talk about it here. Top Gun Maverick.
Oh.
Yeah, again, a high-octane thriller. I really enjoyed this movie. What I really like about this movie is the fact that, I mean, Tom Cruise, he's coming back as Maverick. The first movie came out in 1986, so this is a sequel, 34 years in the making. And you see a lot of these legacy sequels, and
They're awful.
They're awful. I like this movie because you give Maverick something to do. You're not just bringing him back just for any old reason, just for nostalgic reasons. Even though this movie is very nostalgic, but there's a purpose and a reason why Maverick is coming back, and it all works in the movie.
Well, they found a reason, right? I wish we could take this clip and we could go back in time 2 years, right? And say like, Top Gun Maverick is coming, and it's going to be one of your favorite movies of the year. And not only that, it's going to show up on everyone's top 10 list.
Yeah.
It's absurd how much people love this movie.
Yeah.
But you totally get it once you watch the film, because it is a crowd pleaser, but also it is so well made. This is a piece of art. It is action art.
It is, and that's the one thing, and that's one thing I could maybe say about my top 4 is the experience of watching these movies in the cinema and bringing people back into the theater. And we talk about how well this movie is made. Joseph Kosinski directed this movie, who did the original Tron, I mean not the original Tron, Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
But everything.
And Oblivion with Tom Cruise. Don't forget about Oblivion.
And Oblivion. I like Oblivion.
I do too.
So, but what they do with actually putting the actors in the cockpit, you actually see them flying the planes. There's not a lot of CGI. It's insane the amount of work that went into creating these action sequences, and then not just creating it, but making something that keeps you on the edge of your seat.
And Tom Cruise's obsession with wanting to make it as real as possible, to live in the moment of his characters, it is a little unnerving. You fear for him at times.
You do.
You know, that clip came out of him doing that stunt for the next Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
And you're like, Tom Cruise, just make sure you're doing this as safely as humanly possible.
Exactly.
Because we want you on this planet. But
yeah.
I love that he gives so much of himself for this art form.
Yeah, because he thinks about us, the viewers, and I mean, I guess you could say he's the new age Jackie Chan as far as doing all his own stunts.
And who saw that coming?
I know who saw. Yeah, I definitely didn't see that coming. So
Tom Cruise, Jackie Chan, Buster Keaton. What?
Yeah,
love
I know.
it.
Yeah, who's next? I don't know. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Love that movie.
From the Daniels.
Yes.
Speaking of Jackie Chan, co-star Michelle Yeoh.
Oh,
and
love
you know,
her.
we've always loved Michelle Yeoh. Super Cop,
Yeah.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Star Trek Discovery. Love her in Star Trek Discovery. But this is the movie we've been waiting for to see her in, and it is so moving while also being a ridiculous action film. The Daniels are goofsters, right? They know how to have.
If you look at their filmography from before,
they're not afraid to go full Babylon in their film as well.
That's very true.
And sometimes you're like, oh, we're gonna have this in an action scene. But they make it all work. It all comes together so well to tell this beautiful story between a mother and a daughter. And you're bawling by the end of Everything Everywhere at All at Once. It is the Everything Bagel finagle movie. It has everything in it.
It has everything in it. And another thing that I like about it too is the way, I mean, the multiverse. We had 2 multiverse movies. This is definitely the better of
This
the 2.
movie did no favors to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
It really didn't. But I like the way they set up the idea of the multiverse in this movie, where you have to do something physical in that universe in order to do the jump to gain consciousness from another version of yourself. I think they really do a good job of explaining how the multiverse works, and then ultimately at the core of it, like you say, it's this story between a mother and a daughter, and it's the emotional story of that. And it also took away from it this idea of nihilism, the idea of just how we just don't care.
Well, the movie takes you to a point where you feel like, oh, is the ultimate message of Everything Everywhere All at Once going to be nihilism? Like,
Yeah.
You start to agree with that particular version of the daughter.
Yeah.
And how are we going to pull out of this really low place? And the way that they do that, it's very successful.
Yeah.
And it wins you back over to a place of hope.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie with great performances, and I love seeing Michelle Yeoh back and in a role this meaty that she hasn't really had the chance to have a role like this in her career.
Again, she gets to do everything. The range she gets to cover in this role is astonishing and really rare for any actor, but to get this performance for her, it feels like a gift for her, but it feels like a gift for me as a fan of Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, that's been following her since the mid 80s, the early 90s. I mean, we've seen shades of this, like you say, through some of her stuff she did in Hong Kong as an action star, and then Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which I think doesn't get talked about enough with her dramatic performance in that movie with the love story she has with Chow Yun-fat. But yeah, like now I think she's really has come into her own, and I'm so glad to see her get the acknowledgement that and Ke-Huy Quan getting the same thing. It's just great. I love it.
It looks like $1 billion also.
Yeah.
And you put this next to Doctor Strange and you feel like this movie they spent more money on. And no, they did not. It is a cheap movie.
Pales in comparison. So those are our number 2 films of the year. When we come back, we get right into it. Our top films of 2022. Stay right there.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a 4th ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Every 2 minutes, a woman in the U.S. is diagnosed with breast cancer. And that's why when others look away, we lean in. We're fighting alongside patients because we know one moment can change everything. With your help, more moments of hope are possible. Join our fight. Save lives.
Yeah, that's a masterpiece of cinema. It's been a great year. It's been a really good year. All right, we are back with the B&B Movie Review Show. This is it. Top 10, our number 1 movies of 2022. So let's get right to it. All right, Brad. I guess we'll just keep the conversation going.
I think, oh yeah?
Yeah, we'll keep the conversation going. So my number 1 movie of the year is...
Drum roll. Oh, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. I love this movie. So yeah, let's just keep the conversation going. We were talking about the performances in this movie, and Ke-Huy Quan also, he took a huge absence. I think the last time we saw him in movies, he was a little kid.
Well, you know what? After we watched The Whale, I was looking at the IMDb of all the people in the Whale. Brendan Fraser, got to go through Brendan Fraser's career. Ke-Huy Quan is in Encino Man.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that was early 90s?
Yeah, 90s. He was like a teenager in it. So it was amazing to see him in that. But you're right. Like, to see him here, and I'm hoping he's going to get the Best Supporting Actor role.
It seems like it's headed that way, and I would love to see that for him.
Yeah, I think his role his many roles, because again, multiverse movie, so people get to do all kinds of different types of things.
Yeah.
His role as the husband, it's a character that sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
And just the way you're bawling for Michelle Yeoh at the end of that movie, I'm bawling for him.
For him, yeah. The family dynamic and the family connection. I mean, that moment between Michelle Yeoh and her daughter outside of the laundromat at the end when she says, "I will always want to be here with you, no matter what universe we're in, no matter, it's like, if you could be anywhere you want, why are you here with me?" And that moment, knowing everything that she went through that we saw throughout the movie, that moment hits so hard that it's just, it's...
My question for you is, does this film that has very universal themes that I think anybody on the planet could relate to, is it too weird for everybody? Like,
I think it can be.
Yeah.
No, I think it can be. I think it can turn some people away because of the weirdness, especially the way that it kind of starts off. But if you can get through that and really connect with the characters, I think this movie it'll hit you in a very special way.
And I think it could turn people into fans of Michelle Yeoh.
Oh, absolutely.
Fans of multiverse stories.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So that's my number one of the year. Your number one?
My number one of the year is a comic book movie. I am a mark for comic book stories. I don't think I watch a comic book movie and not find something in it to like. Even Black Adam. There are moments in that movie that I like. Yeah. My number one, though, is a different DC hero. Yeah. It's The Dark Knight. It's the new one from Matt Reeves. It was on your list. The Batman.
Yeah, it kind of jumped. It was in my top 10, and then it kind of jumped after I rewatched it, and I think this movie is even better on rewatch. Yeah. But it's your number one, so yeah, definitely.
Well, 3 hours. Do we need a 3-hour Batman movie? I say yes. Like, if it's going to be this good, if it's going to be this rich of character, mystery, and plot. I think Matt Reeves uses every minute of it really, really well.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson is a strong Batman. He is a strong Bruce Wayne. What I loved so much about this film is how it takes Batman on an arc that he hasn't really done before. You know, the word vengeance is thrown around this movie at multiple times. He refers to himself as Vengeance. He is mocked as Mr. Vengeance. And when we get to the end of this movie and he really considers what his effect has been on Gotham, and he sees how he has bred a creature like the Riddler. Played horrifyingly well by Paul Dano. And he comes out of this film going like, maybe vengeance is not the way.
No, and that was the one thing I took away as well on rewatch is that ending, because we talked about it and you mentioned it before with that ending, like those last 15 to 20 minutes, and it's that recollection that he has to become something more.
Yeah.
You know, he can't just be the shadows or like hiding in the
punching
dark.
goons
it's not
all
gonna
night
change.
long.
It's not going to change anything.
Right.
You have to become something more for the people to look up to.
Yes.
Be a beacon of hope.
Yes. And when I first watched this movie, I wasn't even sure I was enjoying it because it is so bleak.
It is.
And again, the Riddler performance, it's deeply upsetting. It directly reflects certain real life characters that I was uncomfortable with. It wasn't until we got to the end where we see what the Riddler has been doing, and he's been setting up this incel army, and Batman seeing what he has done, his contribution.
The part that he's played in it.
Right,
yeah.
and it's ugly, and he sees the ugliness in himself, and he has to do something about it. So I am curious how we move beyond this. If he's going to be a beacon of hope, what does the Batman 2 look like? It can't be more punching people in the face.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Matt Reeves has done a great job establishing this world that I don't know. I guess it all depends on who the adversary, who the villain is going to be in the second movie. But I'm curious to see the progression of Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne is someone that is not out in the public in the way that we've seen.
He's depressed. This Bruce Wayne is depressed.
you know, as far as like the billionaire playboy, the philanthropist, all that stuff. So I'm curious to see that progression and how Robert Pattinson grows as the character of Bruce Wayne. So that's what I'm curious to see what he does in the sequels.
Well, I have hope for a sequel.
Same, hope springs eternal.
Yes.
So that will do it for our top 10 of the year. So thank you for joining us on this show. And with that, we will end and we will see you at the movies.